Welcome into this fourth installment of the Razorback Recap, your go-to destination for the latest updates on Arkansas baseball and softball action. Join us as we break down all the thrilling moments, highlight standout performances, and discuss the strategies that shape the games. Before we get started, Razorback Recap is now brought to you by Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. Check them out today, and if you're in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room, where you can get Scarlet Letter in all their various flavors. In case you missed the big announcement on Saturday, we are now glad to be partnered up with Scarlet Letter as a sponsor for the show. So get out there and check them out. We got big things planned, and we'll keep y'all updated on that. But as for now, they're our new sponsor. Go check them out. Fantastic things going on, flavors. Go check out the tap room. And what a great weekend for the SEC opening weekend of baseball and softball. You couldn't have asked for a much better result than what we got. And I mean, me and you caught the game on Friday. We watched the game together on Saturday. So we got to check out all this action that was shaped in this SEC opening weekend.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on kind of the preview on last Thursday's episode, if you will. And we had high expectations for this opening series against Missouri. We talked about it. They were striking out the most in the SEC, coming into the team that's striking out the most batters in the SEC or close to it. It just felt like they were kind of running into a buzzsaw, and it lived up to the hype as far as Arkansas's end of things go. With across all three games on allowing one run that came off of a solo shot home run for 3 full games. So really, really good showing from the starting pitching, the bullpen. We'll dive a little bit more into that, but overall, fantastic. Lived up to the expectations, every single bit of it.
Yeah, so true. And I mean, this Arkansas pitching staff continues weekend, game after game to flex its muscles and just showing how deep and how talented of a pitching staff this is. And that all starts out with your main guy, Hagen Smith. In game one, Arkansas wins this 8-0 with all of its runs in this game coming off home runs. Hagen Smith was incredible in this outing. I think one of his deepest outings he's been all season, with going 6 innings, 100 pitches, only allowing 2 hits, 1 walk, and 10 strikeouts. So hitting those double-digit strikeouts again, which has become the norm for him. He was relieved by Christian Vouch that came in for 2 innings, 27 pitches, 2 hits. And then Cooper Dossett came in to close things out with 1 inning and 7 pitches, 2 strikeouts. Very efficient there on those 7 pitches, getting 2 Ks. You can't ask for a much better closeout than that. And then when you look at things, Hagen Smith, now on the season, has a 1.75 ERA with 50 strikeouts over 23 innings pitched.
Yeah, and one little tack onto that is I think he's only walked like 8 batters across the whole season so far in his outings. So 8 batters across 23 innings pitched, walked, against 50 strikeouts. I mean, that's like video game stats realistically. I mean, that's a ratio that's almost unheard of. And just seeing what he's been able to do. Granted, we're not into the heart and soul of the SEC schedule. There's some tough teams on the schedule that are coming up. I mean, with a fairly good test this coming up weekend against Auburn on the road, but I think the numbers are going to translate no matter really who we're up against. Hagen's going to get his. I mean, it is unreal what he's been able to do. I don't see the consistency dropping off anytime soon. I can't imagine why it would. There's good hitters on all these teams. We highlighted Ross Lowich's brother, Jackson Lowich, I believe was his name, was batting .370, had hit 5 home runs already in the year. Hagen shut him down. So, I mean, it's just a good testament to what he's able to do against even very good hitters.
Yeah, that's true. And I listened to the some of the commentators that you're talking about. And I'm not going to disagree at the moment, but they were talking about the way Hagen's pitching right now, and if he can continue this performance for an entire season, that they said he could be the first arm off the board in the draft this upcoming year. And I'm not going to argue with him. If he continues this performance, getting double-digit strikeouts every game, he should be the first guy off the board.
I mean, it's very Paul Skeens-esque, if you will. I mean, Skeens was kind of that guy that got all the tout last year at LSU, and for great reason. Phenomenal pitcher. Hagen is looking as good as that. I mean, I don't know if he's got quite the same amount of hype that Skeens had for the year, but I mean, he keeps doing this, and it's going to be the same way. I mean, it's been unreal to see so far, and I've got my fingers crossed he's able to keep it up for the remainder of the SEC series that we've got going the rest of this year.
So true. I think the one big difference between these two guys is Skeens more or less last year relied heavily on a lot of his velocity with throwing, triple digit a lot of the time with his fastballs. Hagan gets up there, not quite there, but he also has his other pitches that he mixes in with his changeup and his slider that, those are equally as good as his fastball. So, he's got a three pitch, weapon there, if you will, that he can use to, get guys in any form or fashion. But when you look at the offensive side of things for Arkansas in this game, as we mentioned, Arkansas's offenses hit 4 home runs in this SEC opener. You can't ask for a better result in your opening game. We've talked about it before. You don't want to rely heavily on the home run ball like Arkansas has. But on the other side of that, you're not going to complain when they do either. And so you look at it, the guy that you've got to highlight in this game, freshman Nolan Souza, the Hawaiian that, he's just really stepped up his performance with the more opportunities that Dave's given him. And he came out and just lit it up this game, going 3 for 4, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. Kendall Diggs right behind him, 2 for 4, 1 home run, 2 RBIs. And then Ross Lovich, 1 for 3 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Arkansas led 7-0 by the end of the 4th inning in this game. And it was easily, they took control of this game early and really didn't let up. And I know both me and you said this Ross Lovich home run was a bomb that cleared the training building out there in right field. So he put up some power against his old team, and I'm sure he enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and he knew it as soon as he hit it. And I think not that there was necessarily bad blood there, but you could tell that he was pumped that he hit it against his old team, was able to kind of show out in a way. I mean, he, the bat flip, the little kind of slow walk to first base and then trot from there. I mean, it was every bit of a dream scenario for a home run. And I mean, he hit the cover off the dang thing. I've got a hard time believing that the StatCast was right on it. I think they had it only going like 405 feet, and it cleared the building. I mean, we were there. We saw it with our own eyes. It legitimately cleared the building. So I don't know how it only got calculated for 405, but man. And the crazy thing is Kendall Diggs was the same way. His went over the top of the building as well. And man, just absolutely squaring some baseballs up in this game for sure.
Yeah, that's true. And so when you look at it, Souza on the season has a team leading 423, 559, 846 this season. And the way the season started out, you wouldn't think this is where he's at, but has he really came on with and taken all those opportunities that he's been given and made the most of them, and rightfully so. And this game he was the DH in this game and the second game of the series, so he not even necessarily playing on defense, but he is making the most of out of all those at bats that he is getting.
Yeah, and I hate to say an injury was ever a good thing, but it's almost kind of one of those scenarios that a good thing came out of Stovall being hurt to start the year, to where were, I'm not going to say forced to play Souza, but he got more opportunities and more at bats. And that's really, being beneficial to the team and Souza as well, obviously. Here, now that we're starting SEC plays, you've got somebody that's really hitting the ball well that may have never even got those at bats early in the year, even as a DH, if Stovall's healthy all year long. So it could be kind of a blessing in disguise in a way that he has really come out and forced himself to be put in the lineup, even if it is just in the DH role, over some other really good guys such as Jason Jones, Hudson Polk. I mean, there's several other guys that have really been hitting the ball pretty well. But Souza's made the case to be playing over them. And I mean, he's very, very fun to watch. He can run the base as well. Has a couple stolen bases on the year, if I recall correctly. And so he's just a really good all-around ball player.
Yeah, so true. You got to love that, we have this wealth of talent that Dave Van Horn knows how to recruit guys in here. And, like you said, yeah, it sucked at the beginning of the year that we had that injury to Stovall. But you had a guy just like Souza to step up right behind him along with Holt that you kind of rotated in until Stovall was getting back healthy and making his return. And then what do? You slide Souza right into a DH spot where you still have his bat in that lineup. And so, fantastic situation for Arkansas to have guys like this coming on as we are opening up SEC play. And then you turn around game 2, Arkansas wins this one 6-0. Another great pitching outing from Brady Tigert, going 4 2/3 innings, 87 pitches, allowing 1 hit, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts in this game. And then he was relieved by Will Ironman McIntyre, who comes in for the final 4 1/3 innings, 56 pitches and 4 1/3 innings. Very efficient outing for him. 1 walk in this game with 5 strikeouts. Will McIntyre can come in and do it all for you. I saw an article or something that said, you look at Will McIntyre, he's probably an easy starter on any other team in the country, and we'll probably start him some. You just wait through the rest of the season. The way this SEC gauntlet is, we'll probably start him, but he would probably be a consistent starter on any other team, mostly in this country, with the way he pitches.
Yeah, outside of maybe 4 or 5 teams out there, Wake Forest, Tennessee,
Maybe
not a whole.
Vandy.
Yeah, maybe Vanderbilt. I mean, you really kind of have to start nickel and diamond to try to find teams where he wouldn't at least be your Saturday or Sunday guy, even on like a weekend rotation. Definitely would be a midweek guy on every team out there. But we've got so many good starting pitchers that. And with Will being able to do kind of what he can in any position you put him in, why have him start if you can get 4 1/3 inning out of him at the end of a game? That's starting level of length just at the end of the game where nobody can touch him. And I mean, he phenomenal outing from Brady and Will in this game. He just took those 2 guys right there to pitch a full shutout. I mean, it was tough sledding to be a Missouri Tiger this weekend.
Yeah, that's very true. When you look at it, Will McIntyre, he doesn't come out there and kill you with his speed on his fastball or anything like that, but his cutter and changeup is where he gets deadly. And I think he took some notes from Kevin Kopps when he was here on the way he throws some of those, because you see that you see the ball come out of the release, and then before you know it, it is just diving down ankle height, and those batters don't know what to do with it, and they're swinging and missing, and he really carves you up other than the fastball. And you love to see that Arkansas's got those different types of talent in pitching. You got guys that can throw the fastball. Brady Tigert's a great example. Guy that uses a high velocity fastball in a lot of his pitching, but then you turn around and you throw off the Missouri batters after they're used to all this speed to Will McIntyre that throws it at a lower velocity. So their swing timing is off by a lot.
Yeah, he throws some junk. And the craziest thing about him is he, I'm almost like Greg Maddux in a way, is he is very, very accurate on his location, even on those cutter type pitches and whatnot. He'll throw them, they'll start out in the zone and drop way off the table. Or then he'll start them up out of the zone, and then they drop into the zone and get guys that way as well. And a lot of looking strikeouts. So it's just, he can kind of do what he wants to with some of those pitches and really keep batters guessing. And it makes him really fun to watch because, like you said, he's not just up there throwing gas. He is very calculated in where he's throwing the balls. He's really good at painting the corners, and then just being able to kind of control what that ball does as far as the drop, the momentum, all of it. He's just very, very calculated, like a surgeon almost.
Yeah, that's true. And then you look at Arkansas offense game, you were no short of fireworks in this game either, as Missouri starting pitcher kind of sat Arkansas down pretty well. But once they made that pitching change, that's where Arkansas took off in this game. And I feel sorry for that relief pitcher for Missouri, because he came in and gave up back-to-back home runs to Arkansas in this game. Peyton Stovall, Vahiva Aloy, and Kendall Diggs all in the 6th inning off the relief guy. I mean, what a stretch for Arkansas to give up or come out and hit 3 straight home runs. But, man, that's tough if you're a reliever and come in and do that. And then you look at Ross Lovich having another great game, hit a 2-run triple in the 6th that scored himself and then scored himself off a wild pitch. Fantastic hitting there. So you look at the totals for the day. Stovall 1 for 2 with that home run and RBI. Aloy 1 for 4 home run RBI. Diggs 1 for 4 home run RBI. And then you got Roslovich, 2 hits, 2 RBIs. So he was having himself a great series against this Missouri Tiger team, his former team. But you got to love what Arkansas is doing with the bats right now. We talked about with Arkansas's pitching, if they can get their bats to wake up, then it's going to be tough sledding for a lot of teams. And I think you're seeing this as a great example here.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And we've talked about it. You don't want to have to rely on the home runs, but in games like this, when you're absolutely knocking the cover off the ball, they turn into home runs a lot of times. And it just kind of is what it is there. So you take it when you get them. But we had some improvements, getting a couple of singles and things as well, and we're doing very, very well at being patient at the plate, taking our walks. We're top 5 in the country right now on walks taken, and it shows, and we're able to capitalize on that a lot of the times and cash in on those free base runners. So it's a deadly combination right now with lockdown pitching and then, a really disciplined approach at the plate that's resulting in walks, home runs, triples. I mean, it's just I hate to have the target on our back, but we do look like a number 1 team in the country right now, and that's a great feeling.
Yeah, very true. After, especially, it seems like Arkansas year in, year out, you have one thing but not the other, or not necessarily don't have it, but it's not as like good as you'd like to have it. You have years when this Arkansas pitching is just as good as it is this year, but the bats really aren't there. Or other years you have great bats, but your pitching kind of struggles and doesn't help you out a ton. And I know it's early, but it seems like this team is getting a good combination of both those things. And if they can keep up the consistency here, this is going to be a tough Arkansas team that I think could almost have a repeat of that season a couple of years ago, where, yes, we may have lost some games, but we won every SEC series that we played. I think this team has that type of talent, and I'm interested to see, what this looks like going down the stretch of the SEC season.
Yeah, me too. I've kind of thought the same thing, that I don't want to count my eggs before they hatch or whatever, but it does kind of feel like we are going to be a very hard team to beat in a best-of-3 series scenario. Yeah, we might drop a midweek game here or there, or we might drop a game on a weekend, especially against some of the tougher slated opponents that we have in the SEC. So it's not going to be the end-all, be-all if we lose a game here or there. And even if we do lose a series or two, it's not going to kill us. But I do think this team has a very strong chance at, winning 2 out of 3 pretty much every weekend, not dropping a series. It's very, very possible. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but it's very possible with the talent level and the pitching, the starting pitching especially, that this team, is able to tout. So it's going to be a fun ride. It's easy to root for these guys. It seems like they have so much fun out there. That's one thing, it's not that they're just out there really playing well. They're having fun while they're doing it, getting the gorilla hat, the little gorilla at the end of the game's involved. That's really been fun to see. If you don't know what that's about, get on YouTube. Do a little bit of Googling on what the gorilla hat is all about now and the dugout. But they're having a great time out there, and it's translating into nice, relaxed approaches, whether you're on the mound or at the plate. And I think that's providing some of the consistency we're seeing.
Very true. And then as you jump over to the final game of this series, Arkansas wins this one 9-1. The lone run coming, like you mentioned at the top of the show, off of a solo shot, off of a relief guy. But when you're talking about our starting pitchers, you love the combination of Hagen Smith and Brady Tiger, but you can't forget about Mason Molina. He came out over from Texas Tech, where he was their Friday night guy. He's our Sunday guy. Came in through 5 1/3 innings, 98 pitches, so close to that century mark. Allowed 1 hit, 3 walks, and 10 strikeouts, getting that double-digit strikeout counter up there again. You love him to see those walks just a little bit, maybe 1, but 3. But I'm still not going to complain with double-digit strikeouts here.
Still a great ratio.
Yeah, so true. You got to love that 10-3 ratio. Then you had Cody Frank come in relief for 2 2/3 of an inning, 8 pitches, 2 strikeouts, very efficient there. Colin Fisher, 1 inning, 11 pitches, 2 hits, 1 run. He had that solo hit off of him. Gage Wood came in for an inning, 16 pitches, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. You had Gabe Geckel, the guy that we know has been coming in and closing a lot. 1 inning with 8 pitches. You can't ask for a much more efficient inning than coming in for an inning and 8 pitches, and that's all you got to do.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all. I can't remember I think it was like 2 straight ground outs and then a pop out or so. It was something like that. Just nice and easy, And sometimes, that's not a bad way to pitch. If you're able to pitch to contact, but guys not really ever be able to square anything up, that's something Will McIntyre's been good at as well throughout his entire career. Is throw to contact, but your ball is moving enough that the guys aren't ever able to really fully square one up, or if they do, it's rare, and you're able to pitch efficiently that way. That's why Mr. McIntyre had that complete game last year. But anyhow, solid outings from everybody realistically, besides maybe Colin Fisher. But even that, if maybe he's allowed to go a little longer, he might kind of bounce back out of the little bit of a tough spot he was in early on there. But overall, dude, I don't really know if you can say enough about our pitching this weekend against Missouri, from the starters to the relievers to the closers. Just the whole basket was great.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we talked about it. Arkansas relied on the home run ball these first 2 games of the series. Well, they kind of changed their tune in this third game where you saw them play that small ball, which we've been asking for, wanting to see that they have that ability. Well, they came out and showed it as they started this one early, scoring its first 2 runs in the bottom of the first. Kendall Diggs with an RBI double and a sac fly from McLaughlin got it started 2-0. Bottom of the third, we continued things. Ben McLaughlin, he was a guy you hadn't heard in the first 2 games a lot from, but came in this last game, had a solo home run in the third, finished the game 1 for 2 with that home run, 2 RBIs and 2 walks he was able to draw. So great plate appearances from him. And then Arkansas added 2 more runs in the bottom of the 5th off a double from Stovall and Vahiva Loy with a sac fly. Arkansas plated 3 more runs in the 6th thanks to Sprague. He scored on a fielding error. Aloy had a 2-out, 2-run single. And then Hudson White added the final run of the game in the bottom of the 7th with an RBI double. So you saw a small ball in action here in this game where, it wasn't just those long balls, doubles, triples, singles. That's what we saw from this team in this third game.
Yeah, and it really couldn't have come at a better time, in my opinion, to kind of get you those at bats and those base running. How am I not really going to say techniques, but looks in a way that you really are going to need down the line, is understanding how to run the bases well, get that in-game practice of that, trying to steal, getting good leads. All those things really do come critical. That's muscle memory by the time you get to the end of the year, is that you're not having to overthink, what size lead you have at first, or what size lead you have at second, or where you're at in the count, and if you're running on the next pitch, or all those things. Getting those repetitions is a great thing, and it's hard to get those when you get a walk and then the next guy up just cranks one. So it's a good thing to kind of see a little bit more of this off and on. Yeah, the home runs are fun. It gets loud. The train horns blow. Everybody, gets rowdy out in the hog pen and stuff when there's a blast. But seeing the nickel and dime approach is a good thing as well, and something that I think we've gotten better at as the year's gone on. And I'm glad for that for sure.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have that as we get deep into the SEC schedule, and the pitching talent really ups its game. You're going to have to be able to get those doubles, those singles to advance guys across the bases. That's where we struggled early down in Arlington, and that's, if we would have been able to do this down in Arlington, we probably would have left down there undefeated. So you got to love the attention to fixing this problem early and, finding and addressing those deficiencies, if you will. Not that it's necessarily deficiency, but you love to see the improvement. And so Arkansas rounded out this series getting the sweep, and the Arkansas offense finished this series with 21 RBIs and 8 home runs in this game. You got to love those offensive numbers. Like we said, not many teams are going to be able to contend with a potent offense, if you will, like this, along with the lights out pitching that this pitching staff has.
Yeah, I mean, with the way our pitching has been, you could hit 8 solo home runs in a series and probably win 2 out of those 3 games, just if they're kind of spread out like that. But man, you can sit here and talk to your blue in the face on how good the pitching was, because it was. But I do think you got to kind of toot the horn a little bit on the batters. It just seemed like everybody's averages are climbing as the year's gone on. Almost everyone. Aloy, especially Ben McLaughlin. I mean, all those guys, even like one bad outing of a game, they bounce right back and go 2 for 4, 4 for 5 the other night for McLaughlin, for example. And everyone's averages are climbing. And that's something that's That's not as common as you might think. More often than not, you'll have somebody start the season hot and they'll be batting 500 or something through 10 games, and then they kind of come back down to earth. So it's a good thing to see that we're making strides in the right direction, comparatively to maybe what is the norm. So very, very excited, and I don't want to get too hopeful and really get too crazy, but this was one heck of a series on both sides of the baseball. I really don't know what else to say besides that. It's really easy to kind of drink the Kool-Aid this early on and really have a good feeling that we're going to make it pretty far this year, barring any substantial injuries and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, even like you're talking about the hitting, and it's just amazing to me. You look at Stovall; he came back, and it took maybe what, one game to get
One
back into
inning?
form. Yeah, by the time the other two games of that series that he came back, he was hitting home runs like it was nothing. So, he was able to come back and, just almost get right in the groove of things. And, and you got to talk about Eloy. He's a guy that, started out extremely slow, almost had, like we described at the beginning of the year, a Caleb Cali type of start to the season, where last year, if you remember, he really struggled his first, 20 at bats. And then once he finally started getting some hits, started building that confidence, and he just took off from there. And I think Eloy has the chance to have a better bat than Cali did last season.
I completely agree with that.
And so, we mentioned how good this pitching staff is. Let's look at the numbers on this. So, Arkansas pitching staff over this entire weekend for all three games finished with 37 strikeouts, 10 walks. You'd like to see that number a little bit lower, but I'll still take it with a, nearly 3-to-1 ratio here. 8 hits, 1 run, and for a total of the entire series, Missouri hitters went 8 for 83 on their at bats. You talk about living up to the stat of the team that strikes out the most in the SEC, and you got to give them a little credit that they did this against Arkansas's pitching staff. We'll get into those numbers in a minute, but that's pretty incredible numbers for this Arkansas pitching staff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's less than a 0.1 batting average, which is just nuts. And to your point, I will almost give Missouri just a touch of credit. I actually thought they didn't strike out as much as maybe I expected, and they struck out, a decent. I mean, double digits each game, but I felt like it could have been worse, maybe. So give them a little bit of credit there to, at least putting some bats on some balls. Granted, they were, soft ground outs or ugly pop outs. Our pitching staff's doing a really good job at getting guys to pop out into foul territory, and letting Hudson White or Ben McLaughlin clean it up. So a lot of good things in that regard as well, getting to, pitching to contact, but getting the easy outs on top of that. But, I thought they didn't strike out as much as I maybe expected. But outside of that, I mean, this is definitely, Arkansas kind of flexing the muscles that we really are the number one team in the land, and you're going to take your lumps and move on.
Yeah. And then you look at this pitching staff. So as to today, some of these stats for this pitching staff is incredible. And they if they can keep this up, I think they could be on the stretch of a historic season. But as of today, Monday, after this series, Arkansas sits number 1 in the country with ERA of 2.35. Number 1 in hits allowed per 9 innings with 5.77. Number 1 in strike to walk ratio with 4.64. Number 1 in strikeouts per 9 innings with an average of 13.6. Number 1 in whip with 0.97. And number 5 in walks per 9 innings with 2.94. There's a lot of number ones down that list. And if they can keep this up, I mean, I think Arkansas really has the chance to break that strikeout record this year.
It's looking like it so far. I mean, we were on pace after the Arlington series to beat it by 70-something strikeouts. And I don't know if it's quite that dramatic right now, but it's got to be still pretty close. And it doesn't seem like we're slowing down anytime soon. When your starters go out there and get 10 and then your relievers come in and get 5 or 6 more. I mean, it's absurd, honestly. But been very, very fun to watch. Some people that are not Hog fans might think the games are a little bit boring in a sense because, strikeouts aren't that They're not explosive. I mean, there's something to get excited about, especially if you're an Arkansas fan for sure. But like, there's not a whole lot of like flash of the leather or anything like that being made throughout some of these games near at the rate of some other games, for example, because we're striking out so many batters and there's not as many opportunities for those types of plays. But in my opinion, I wouldn't have it any other way. So it's been very fun if you're an Arkansas fan to watch some of these games and see these guys go to work. And at the end of the day, they're all improving their draft stock. We talked a little bit about it around Hagen Smith kind of potentially being the number one guy off the board, but you look at the guys that are all behind him, and there's some future, first rounders throughout this bullpen and starting rotation, and it's been a blessing to see, that's for sure.
Yeah, plus you gotta love the efficiency with Arkansas. You look through the weekend, they only had to pitch 10 pitchers in 3 games.
It's not bad.
Those first 2 games having 3 and 2 guys. So you're giving your bullpen extra rest, if you will, where they're going to be fresher later and they don't have as many pitches on those arms, which is going to benefit in the long run down the stretch. And so you got to love the efficiency by this pitching staff as well. And so Arkansas has its first road test this weekend as they go on the road, and they will be matching up with the Auburn Tigers this weekend down in Alabama. So we'll get ready to see how they do on the Plains. I'm not worried, but it'll be interesting to see as they head away from Baum on what that looks like for them. And speaking of the Auburn Tigers, we'll flip over to Arkansas softball, where they opened up their SEC weekend just about perfect, like the Arkansas baseball team as well. They unfortunately dropped 1 game, but they still were able to sweep this or get the series win here. And what ended up being a doubleheader day on Saturday, as they had to move Friday's game due to some inclement weather. Well, game 1 on Saturday, Arkansas wins the 6-1 with Morgan Leanstock getting the ball in the circle and going the entire game with 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 10 strikeouts in this game. Yeah, sorry about that, Woods, Water, Mizzou. I don't think so. I think, if you want to talk about abuse, you really want to look back at the football game. So I think we'll call that even.
We're square.
Yeah, we're squared up there. So with it, back to that softball, great pitching in this first game by Morgan Leanstock. She seems to be getting better and better as the season has gone on. And then you flip to the other side of things, where this Arkansas offense got back to what we know it can do. Reagan Johnson, 2 for 4 with a run scored. Hannah Gamble, 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run scored. Bree Ellis, her return to Auburn in this first game, had a 3-run home run in the bottom of the first, making her welcome back appearance into Auburn very early. And then you had Hannah Gamble also add a solo home run in the bottom of the first. Gamble also had an RBI in the 6th that scored Ellis as well. So she's just sitting out here doing it all. And then Reagan Kramer had a sac fly to score Kennedy Miller. So offense was in true fashion in this first game.
Yeah, and you like to see it. Putting 6 runs on the board, it's nothing to slouch at. Sometimes you see softball get a little bit higher up there on some of the run totals, but when you have somebody like Morgan Leanstock sitting there and just absolutely striking people out to death, it's just, you don't have to put up a ton of runs. And realistically, we did hit the ball well. Bree Ellis, I thought, to your point, really came out, maybe had a slight chip on her shoulder and just was seeing the ball big and hit everything. Looked really, really good doing it with that 3-run blast. So getting things started early like that really got the crowd out of it, and then they were able to kind of ice this game from then on.
Yeah, I wonder if several of those Auburn fans maybe regret coming out there and trying to say Bree Ellis was soft. I think she came out and proved her point in this one, first game very early. So you jump over to the second game of the doubleheader, where Arkansas won this 5-1. So got the series win in one day here. Pitching in this one, Robin Heron, 3 2/3 in this one, 4 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. So not one of her best outings, but she came in and still was able to work around some walks and things of that nature. Hannah Cammonson came in for relief, 2 1/3 innings in this one, 3 hits, 1 strikeout. Morgan Leanstock came in to finish things up in the final inning with 1 hit. Arkansas's 5 runs of this game were all scored off of 4 home runs. So you see a little bit of the softball team taking that bomb approach there, where we mentioned it last week. I think she had a big weekend last weekend, and she followed that up. Kennedy Miller, the freshman catcher, having herself a game on the road in SEC play, going 3 for 3 with 2 home runs in this game. I don't think you can ask for a much better performance there. She scored its first 2 runs in the top of the first with a 2-run home run. And then in the top of the second, you had Kylie Howerson hit a solo shot. Kennedy Miller back in the top of the fourth with her second home run of the game with a solo shot. Then Bree Ellis once again scores the final run of the game with a solo shot in the top of the sixth. So this was just a fantastic outing in the second game as well. They just continued where they left off. The hot bats just continued to roll in their second game of this doubleheader.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Being able to come out there and just kind of hit bombs at will from time to time, that's going to come in very handy. The one thing I think we've got to do maybe just a slight better job on is kind of not the bomb or bust approach. From time to time, it seems like we're not doing as well as we should on drawing walks or being able to, do any types of bunts for hits, which is sometimes frequent in softball, and things to just get runners on base. To really, maximize the outcome of some of those home runs. We've done decent at it. I'm not saying we've done bad at all. I think we could have some slight improvement there, kind of how we've seen, the baseball team, for example, have some incremental improvements as the years gone on. That's one thing I'd like to see a slight improvement on, but overall, man, a great start, really, really solid day, a long day, with the doubleheader. But come out there and really pitched well, only allowing 2 runs across both of those games to kind of lock up that series victory. And hit the ball. Hit the ball big. Everything just seemed like we're loud outs. And if it wasn't a loud out, it was going over the fence. So really exciting day for sure.
You got to look at it too. And this weekend, Courtney Neifel got her 300th win this weekend. So, congratulations to her. Well deserved after, what she's done for this Arkansas program. And, I hope she's here when we're celebrating her 600th win. That would be fantastic. And if she keeps this program the way she's doing and we keep paying her, hopefully she's here for a long time. Kind of turns into one of those coaches that's been like, almost a Gasso-esque, where she's been at Oklahoma so long. I'd love to see Courtney Neifel kind of cement herself here at Arkansas just like that. But as you got to look at too in this game, I think Kennedy Miller is easily putting herself in the running for Freshman of the Year with the performance. She's really, started off the season a little slow at the beginning, but she's really come into her own, got that catching job as a freshman, but she is also coming in here and, like you've said before, hitting the cover off the softball. It's incredible what she's been able to do this season. And you can't ask for a much better step up from a freshman. And then as you flip over to game 3, Arkansas unfortunately fell in this one 2-1 in a low-scoring game. So between those 3 games, 3 runs allowed. Can't ask for a much better outing from pitching staff in this. I think this game is where you wish your bats were going a little bit more and kind of continued from the previous day. Robin Herron got the start in this one. Only went 2/3 of an inning, so it was just not her day in the circle here. 1 hit, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. Hannah Camden came in relief in this one for 1 2/3 innings, allowing 2 hits, 1 walk. And then Morgan Leanstock coming in for the final 3 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts. So this just seemed like the weekend of Morgan Leanstock for Arkansas. And you got to love, like we mentioned it, we wanted to see somebody else step up other than Robin Herron. They did that. Morgan Leanstock is continuing to get better as this season is going on, and that's what Arkansas is going to need to do well in this SEC play. In this game, you look at the bats. Bree Ellis once again had the exclamation point in this game where she went 2 for 2 with an RBI and a walk. She did score Arkansas's only run off of an infield single, the third. So, she's probably very happy with how her weekend down in Auburn went.
Yeah, couldn't come at a better time for her to really kind of get hot, if you will. She had a great year up until this point, but even, I think she upped her average significantly just from this weekend alone. So, it sucks to lose that 3rd game, but you already had iced the series, so it's not like the end of the world. And Yeah, you want to work on a little bit of the consistency of the bats. Obviously you didn't get the home runs in this game, which caused us to not get the runs that we'd kind of been accustomed to. So that's kind of that disadvantage where if you're not hitting the home runs, you're not scoring any runs, and got to find a little bit more consistency there. Very similar to the baseball team, So couple things to improve on, incrementally here and there, but overall, a very, very strong outing against a not bad Auburn team at all. And I think the sky's the limit for this Arkansas team if they can really, capitalize on getting more base runners on, then hitting some of those home runs and things of that nature. And if a couple of these players stay hot, Bree Ellis, Kennedy Miller, for example. So a lot of good things in store. It's going to be an exciting year. It's fun that the baseball and softball teams are this good at the same time. It makes it to where if you can catch any games at either of the diamonds on any weekend, it's worth your time and money. So get out there and give these players the support that they deserve.
Yeah, very true. You gotta love that Kennedy Miller's making her name for herself. I've seen this. There's this meme already out there, saying it's Miller time whenever she has a big bomb, and you gotta love that innuendo there. And so as we getting ready to wrap up here, the softball team had a midweek that actually went on today. We'll cover that in the episode later this week. Arkansas baseball does not have a midweek this week. They will start their series early though against Auburn, as that's going to be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series as they go on the road. Arkansas softball, their SEC series this weekend, they're going to take on Mississippi State, where after that road trip, you got to wonder how they're going to come back and fare at home as they open up SEC play at home. And you got to love where these two teams are sitting at right now. Opening conference play, getting the series win for both teams. Baseball team getting the sweep. I mean, I don't think you can ask for a better opening weekend than what we got.
No, I'm so excited, man. It's been a blast so far. Baseball season always goes by too fast. That's the worst part, but looking forward to some really good series these next few weekends for sure.
That's very true. And like we said, if you weren't on right at the beginning of the show, and you missed it Saturday, we announced our new partnership with Scarlet Letter, beverage that made here locally in Northwest Arkansas and Springdale. We've got a lot of exciting things we're working on logistically and getting planned with them. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be some exciting things, guys, and you do not want to miss it. On other things, I know Arkansas basketball is not in the big dance this year, but I'll send it out again. Go join our March Madness tournament bracket competition. I sent the link out, and I'll send it out again. The password, I'll attach it there, but it's capital W WooPig, capital W and P. So go out there. We might come up with some prizes. Depending on how many people we can get in there, we'll see. But other than that, I don't have anything else. You got anything else, Seth, before we get out of here?
I'm good, man. Woo pig.
Yeah, fantastic weekend. So don't forget, please go hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us, and we're going to continue to put out a lot of content for you guys. And like I said, with our new partnership, a lot of big things coming there. So be on the lookout, and we'll be back towards the end of this week with our regularly scheduled episode. So until then, woo pig.